hope so. Technical glitches on a Friday. It's not even Friday the 13th and we're having technical glitches, but we are here now. Welcome to this latest public live stream of Lost in the Pond. I do apologize for the delay. Our microphone was being a right little, I can't say because my mum is watching probably tomorrow. So today we're going to talk about, interesting, or I should say fascinating, I think is the word I used in the title, state facts, because I find these incredibly fascinating as I'm looking through them. I see we do already have some people who are using the super chat. Thank you to you fine folks. Anybody else who wants to use that, please go ahead and do so. Feel free. It's Friday night. It pays for our drinks. More importantly, it pays for our equipment, and that is the most important thing. And you can rest assured we don't use that equipment while under the influence.
Not usually.
Not usually. So that would be most useful. But more important than that is I want you to send me all of your state facts. And if you want to, you can even ask me, what's Illinois' state bird, or, anything like that, that just comes to you. And I'll see if I can, finagle. Is that the word? Fandangle.
Sure. Or at least think about.
Yeah. Try to come up with an answer. It might be albatross. I don't know if that's anybody's state bird, but so what have we got?
So yeah, let's start with Gary Kaleher, which by the way, thank you for the drinks.
Thank you.
Virginia's style of governance derives from a decision made by Judge Dillon of Iowa in 1868 called Dillon's Rule. Very few Virginians even know about it, but it controls all of their lives, apparently. That's amazing. And thank you for that. And I should say, by the way, we have no way in real time of verifying these as fact. We are going to trust that you know your home state well enough that these facts are true. But if anybody says anything in this live stream that jumps out at people as, oh, that's not true, or it is, part of folklore, then feel free to very politely mention that so that we're aware of the facts. I just want to learn more and more about each of the states. Yes, and along those lines, again, D. Kelly, thank you for the drinks. And the first ice cream sundae was made in Two Rivers, Wisconsin.
Is that right? That does make sense, doesn't it? Because Wisconsin is very much a dairy state, known, of course, for its cheese. We've been fortunate enough when visiting Milwaukee, not really at the appropriate time of year, to have had some Wisconsin-owned cheese. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a very spicy cheese. I rather liked it, and it's making me hungry now.
I feel like I remember the story as well, that I guess they ran out of something because they usually would scoop ice cream in a certain way. Maybe it was for a soda fountain or something like that. And so they ran out of the soda.
Or was that a soda bubbler? It's Wisconsin. That was last week's live stream. Sorry, carry
Indeed. On. And so they decided to top it with, chocolate, cherry, whipped cream, and then call it a sundae instead because it was on a Sunday.
Was it really? It was made on a Sunday?
I might be making this up.
You might be making that part up.
I swear that's the story that I heard when I was growing up.
I never knew the sort of Sunday day of the week connection, if indeed that is true. We are flying by the seat of our proverbial pants here today. So yeah, keep them coming, keep throwing them at me, not your Sundays. That would be messy.
My goodness, we have another one. So
Thank you.
Thanks again, D. Kelly, for the drinks. And yeah, they say buy a martini on me. I would rather just buy it as opposed to on top of you, but thank you. And the National Cathedral in DC has a gargoyle of Darth Vader.
Oh, I think I've seen a picture of that. I didn't sort of make the connection with the location, but I think I have seen some image of that. And I always assumed it was photoshopped, but I guess not then. That's good. Somebody needs to do that with the entire Star Wars empire, just sort of dot them around the entire United States. In gargoyle form. That would be fun. So
here's an untrue fact.
Yes.
Steve Blackledge says that Wisconsin doesn't actually exist.
That is actually, yes, incredibly untrue. I do agree with you. No, I agree. I think it's true that it's untrue. So there is some truth to what you're saying there. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for the drunk shovel. And they say it is still technically illegal to hang horse thieves in Iowa. Not that anyone would.
No, well, this goes hand in hand with a lot of those sort of dumb laws across the United States. There are so many of them. I think it's illegal for pigs to smoke in the state of Arkansas. I made that one up, but it's that sort of thing, because they go back to a very isolated incident, usually in these cases, that just stayed on the record and never got overthrown in most cases. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Omion says that Utah is about the size of the UK without the water. So if you take out all the water claims, then they're the same exact size.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, there's a few states out west that are, I think, not even including. Well, actually, Wyoming is pretty similar. The area of Wyoming is the size of the United Kingdom. When I made that comparison with all of those states that are, I did include water territories. And in doing so, that means that Michigan is even in the list as well. So, yeah, it's 11 of them in total.
So I love this question by Dominic Thornburg, but I'm going to put my own little spin on it.
Sure.
So they ask, if you didn't live where you do currently, what state would you choose to move to now that you know more about the U.S.? But I think that you should answer in urban legend.
In urban legend.
So which state has the most interesting urban legend that makes you want to move there?
The biggest one for me is that Wisconsin doesn't exist. And you could go off the grid very easily if you indeed moved to a place that doesn't exist. But urban legends off the top of my head are, I suppose, hard to come by. I mean, there are plenty of them, aren't there? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It's not really an urban legend as much as it is a sort of conspiracy theory, but I've always just liked the idea of the Pacific, not the Pacific Southwest, that doesn't make sense, the Southwest of the United States, just because it's sort of caught up in things like Roswell and, up in Nevada, Area 51 and all these sort of other things. I'm not into that for real, but I find it really fascinating and would love to sort of experience just being there, like in the movies kind of thing. Wife, did I see we got another super chat come in?
Chef bought us half a drink. Thank you very much, Chef, for that.
Thank you.
And they say that the state of Wyoming has 2 whole escalators. Now, I don't know if that means that they only have 2.
Yep.
But that's crazy.
That's genuinely true. That is not an urban legend. I did look into this a little while ago, actually, when doing a video specifically about Colorado. But I don't know why. Somehow Wyoming's, sort of just 2 escalators popped into that research. And it is, to this very day, still true, which is unfathomable to, I think, people like myself who live in Chicago, where, of course, they're everywhere.
I feel like somebody has to verify this one for me because I find it really hard to picture. But there again, I've never been to Minnesota, so I don't really know. Jacqueline Wyatt says that in the past 30 years, at some point, it has snowed in Minnesota every single month of the year except July.
I could imagine that. I mean, I did a video just the other week, about how it's one of the coldest states in the US. And it didn't quite make my top 7 snowiest states. Unbelievably, that's just because the east coast of the United States and Alaska and 1 or 2 other places are just that tad snowier, which you can imagine is horrific compared to Minnesota. Minnesota is still nonetheless an insanely snowy state. So I suppose I could picture that, especially given the fact that, it does have colder temperatures on average. But I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one because I remember looking at North Dakota for comparison, which is obviously the state over. And it's like, where I live has a very cold winter, but warm summers. So that's an interesting piece of trivia. And thank you for that. I'd be interested to know more.
So I think this is not the only state that does this, but in Massachusetts, it's illegal to have sex in any position but missionary. And that's from Mandy Robbins. And I believe, again, that Massachusetts isn't the only one that still has that law in the books. That's
unbelievable. I won't ask why you know that. And also, I have to clarify, I'm not as well versed in that law as the wife seems to be. But there are just interesting kind of laws, kind of antiquated laws around sex in general, actually, and they are fascinating. They would make an incredible video that would get me demonetized, so I might not do that one. What else have we got? I think I saw another.
I love this one. This is one of my favorite ones. And yeah, like a parlor trick, if you want to call it that, to pull out of parties. But the oldest continuously inhabited city in the United States is in Florida, and it's St. Augustine.
Yes.
Scott DiMichele, I hope I said that right. Thank you very much for that fact. That's one of my faves.
Thank you. And was that a super chat?
It was not.
Okay, I think we did have a super chat. I saw it go past my eye, but I know they're going very fast, so I can't.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I know you are.
So that's in along those lines. It's from Drunk Shovel. Thanks again for the drink. And they say, if I'm not mistaken, the computer game. Wait, the computer. I'm sorry. The computer came to be in Iowa.
Is that right? That's
I feel
crazy.
like there are a lot of states and countries that lay claim to that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how true that is, but I hope it's true for Iowans.
I don't know that one either, but yeah, I'd be happy for you to accept it. Yeah, I've not heard that one before. That's amazing.
Thank you very much, Brian Stone, again for buying us a drink. And apparently in Spearfish, South Dakota, it has the world record for the fastest temperature change from -4 degrees to 45 degrees Fahrenheit in 2 minutes.
I can believe it. And I think I did hear about something as extreme as that. And it was really funny. Well, not funny. I mean, not ha-ha. I think I read that it was in North Dakota, I believe, that its state's coldest temperature happened in the same year as its hottest temperature later on in the summer as well. So extreme in the Dakotas and just in that sort of area of the United States in general. It's fascinating to me as a casual weatherman. So what else have we got?
So here's a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Evil Producer 01 claims that the Capitol Dome in Madison, Wisconsin is shorter than the dome in Washington, D.C., but it is larger by volume.
Is it? That's an interesting one. I do find these things, believe it or not, against all odds, very fascinating. And somebody told me that the one in Texas, the Capitol building in Texas, is actually larger than the Capitol building in DC as well. So it gets a run for its money, I suppose, across the nation.
I suppose. I keep forgetting that this screen that I'm using, because this is not my usual computer, is a touch screen. So I'm like flipping past people. So apologies for that, Justin Eakin. Thank you for the half a drink. Alligators and crocodiles only coexist in Florida, apparently.
That's a very interesting one. And the reason I say that is I made a mistake many years ago when I was talking about the Mississippi River. And I just made this off the cuff joke about how I don't want to fall in there because crocs will eat me. And then everybody said, there are no crocs in the Mississippi, it's alligators. And I think somebody may have clarified that Florida coexistence between the two there. Either way, I don't want to run into that again.
So thank you for the drink, Snazzy Butterfly.
Thank you.
Apparently in Peninsula, Ohio, there's an abandoned part of it called Helltown.
Okay.
And it has buildings such as the Slaughterhouse and the Witch's House. And it's now been taken over by the government so that it can be turned into a national park.
That's unbelievable. That's amazing. I mean, it calls to mind as well Hell, Michigan, which is, again, a genuine place. Comes from German and is, I believe, not even connected to the idea of hell itself. But there are some fascinating names in the United States. And I do want to do a video on that here in the near future.
Thank you very much, Mardi, for buying a whole round of drinks for us.
Thanks, Mardi.
Wow. The origin of fajitas dates back to the early 1900s in the Rio Grande Valley. During roundups on the ranches, the Mexican vaqueros were given the throwaway cuts of the butchered cattle as part of their pay. I mean, they did well with it. I'm a big fan.
I had fajitas just the other day.
Yeah,
actually. Yeah,
great.
in Indy. They've spread, of course, across the United States, and I must say, possibly even over to England, where Mexican food has, taken on a life of its own.
It's so crazy. When I lived there, you couldn't find it anywhere. And now you can find it in Grimsby.
Yes, you can.
Which is insane.
That's
to me.
insane. That's a really good origin story for that. And I'd love to look more into some of the Mexican food items to see where they come from, because we in England have a hard time pronouncing that. I would have said fajita. Probably.
So weird. Yeah, and quesadilla.
So silly. All right.
All right, Jessica Morgan, thank you very much for the drinks. Kansas is literally flatter than a pancake. Dodge City is the windiest place in the U.S., and Liberal is one of the few places in the U.S. that celebrates Pancake Day.
That's amazing. And I did read that it's literally flatter than a pancake somewhere. And I think that makes sense, because when you think of a pancake, it's not entirely flat, is it? You have little tiny bumps in it. But if you, if you were to look at Kansas on the whole, I could absolutely see how they arrived at that. And I do remember reading about that myself.
So Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras.
You're turning English.
I don't even know what I'm saying.
You're turning English.
Jay Warvel says that Mardi Gras, there you go, guys, was celebrated in Mobile, Alabama, long before New Orleans took it over.
Is that true? And do we have any New Orleans people in the comments that want to dispute this claim? I don't want to start a civil war between.
I can believe that that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was, originally it was sort of like a French influenced holiday, I guess.
Yeah.
And the French had various settlements along that, southern coastline. So
and is Mobile itself of French origin? I assume it probably is, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I haven't looked into
me.
that.
Yeah, I haven't either, but I can imagine that it is, again, given all those settlements.
Yeah, and hence why we don't pronounce it mobile, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good point. So another fascinating, by Mandy Robbins' admission, Massachusetts fact, the official state horse breed is the Morgan horse. Personally related fact to her, that it is her favorite breed of horse. Okay,
well, that's good. My horse knowledge is deficient, I think, in some regard. But I do know that coming up, of course, in June or is it May, the Kentucky Derby or Derby, when that's about the only time of the year that I sort of culturally pay attention to horses. But I'm always happy to learn some more.
This one's hilarious. So River says that if you make an ugly face, I don't know what it means to be an ugly face, but if you make an ugly face at a dog in Oklahoma, then you could be jailed.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I looked actually last year, there were 100 imprisonments just due to that. I'm joking. I mean, these dumb laws, I don't think have imprisoned anybody since they were enacted, most likely, in most cases.
So here's a kind of sad one, I guess.
Yeah.
Lucas Tran says that California's flag has a grizzly bear in it.
Yeah.
But the last grizzly bear in California was killed in August 1922.
That is sad. I don't like that at all.
It's interesting. I feel like those are two different.
Well, that is really funny. Because, and the flag itself with the bear in it also has the words California Republic. And it doesn't usually go by that name to this day, of course. So it seems like a lot about that flag needs updating by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it does sound like that. So Junebug says, I'm from Minnesota, I think, right? MN, Minnesota?
MN?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Sorry, guys. It's been a while since I was in 7th grade. But there is a homeless man in Madison, Wisconsin who plays the piccolo near the Capitol in the summer, and he wears his own merch or a bright orange coat, and there is a documentary about him.
So this is kind of an ongoing piece of trivia that it will one day not be true, but currently is. I love things like that. That's amazing. So there's a documentary about a guy in orange jacket. We'll look that up, Wisconsin. All right, cool.
And E. Edgerton just wants to remind us that the most fascinating fact about New York is that it is not just a city, but it is in fact a state as well.
Well, an interesting one, more so even than that, is that both the city and the state, of course, not named after the city of York in England, but the Duke of York. And I think I've mentioned that about 1,000 times on this channel now.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one from Kylum1112. The Eisenhower Tunnel in Colorado is the highest auto tunnel in the world at 11,000 feet.
Yeah.
Also, Colfax Avenue is the longest continuous street in America at 26 miles long.
Oh, that's amazing. And in terms of the Eisenhower, it should be renamed the Eisenhigher. Bad idea, but I didn't think it through. I didn't think that through. Okay, great. Keep them coming. We've still got 7 minutes. This is flying by. I love this. I love state trivia. What else do we have?
Well, Evil Producer 01 says, for a weird place name, there's a lake in Wisconsin called Butte de Mort, which means Mound of the Dead. But it's a lake, I think.
But it's Mound of the Dead? and we have Helltown. There's so many grim place names in this country. I should really make a list of all the morbidity that exists out there. It's amazing. There's also some rather rude ones, like what is it? Climax somewhere. There's a few places called Climax, and there was another one I saw recently. It made me go all flushed in the face.
This is another one that I have almost no knowledge of, and I certainly haven't heard before. But I'm very interested to know, what the ins and outs of this is. PV 1230 says Vermont was its own republic prior to joining the United States.
Yeah, well, I think that was the French influence, wasn't it? Vermont comes from French, I think, to mean Green Mountain, more or less. Yeah. But I don't know too much of that sort of localized history either. I'm sad to say. I must look more into that, I think.
So thank you, first off, for your sergeant. Where are the surgeons?
For
your service, Sergeant Mount DeHart.
Thank you.
For the drinks. But he says that during the 1920 mine wars in West Virginia, during the Battle of Blair Mountain, U.S. Army Air Corps dropped bombs on the miners.
Whoa, that's a story I didn't know. And that goes hand in hand. Well, it doesn't go hand in hand, but it's equally shocking to what I didn't know about prohibition, as evidence in tonight's quiz, that the US government poisoned the alcohol to put people off drinking it.
Oh, yeah. In major cities.
Yeah. That's incredible.
And all this stuff, you can find it on, a lot of different government websites because, of course, those documents have come into public domain now. So,
but that about West Virginia miners, that hits home, doesn't it?
It does,
we're very familiar with West Virginia, and I've seen a lot of the coal mines. Some of them abandoned, I think, and that's sad.
It's
horrible.
Frustrating.
Yeah,
to be sure.
Sure. Okay.
So thank you for the drink, Drunk Shovel. And they quip that Helltown sounds sort of like it might be German for the word bright.
Yeah.
It's just a guess, but they're just making the point that it might not be so grim and that German as a language is unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. And in fact, it's certainly Hell, Michigan is from that very German word. I looked that one up recently. Yep. What else do we have?
Well, let's see. Iowa supplies the most corn of any other state in the union, according to My Cat's Meow 2.
That's amazing. In fact, I was having this discussion just yesterday with a colleague of mine, which state has the most or, up there with the most. We always think it's Indiana that produces the most.
No, we produce a lot of soy.
A lot of soy, but still not number one in the nation even for that, I don't think, Indiana. I think Illinois might be ahead, but I could be wrong. I don't want to, put out stuff that's not true or accurate. But
so here's another one from E. Edgerton. New York's Adirondack Park is bigger than Yosemite and Yellowstone combined.
That's insane because Yosemite just on its own stretches for much of California, doesn't it? So that is, and California, of course, being a huge state, that's incredible. Wow, I should go there sometime and play hide and seek throughout the land.
So according to Digital Chickens, the oldest synagogue and Torah in North America are both located in Newport, Rhode Island.
Oh, are they? I assumed it would be out east, I think. But
it only makes sense.
Yeah, I think I probably would have guessed New York, but that's good to know. Wow.
2 Death 3 just wants to remind us that hell has, in fact, frozen over in Michigan.
That must be one of the oldest jokes in Michigan history since that town came to being, which I think was the 19th century, maybe.
That sounds right. Let's just say that.
Yeah, let's just lie and not
like the lie. It probably is right.
I can't remember now. And if there's anybody in Hell, Michigan, watching this and can confirm any of the claims we're making about it, please do so.
So speaking of prohibition, Aussie Travels says that Connecticut was one of the only 2 states that did not ratify prohibition.
Is that right? I was hearing earlier on, and I think somebody actually wrote it. And again, feel free to write it again. I think Maryland tried to stave off prohibition. But I don't know in what capacity. That's all I read earlier on. I don't know if that was one of the 2 states, but that's interesting nonetheless.
Thank you very much for the drink, Matthew Hammond.
Thank you.
And Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee had its first concerts on May 4th, 1892 to save Andrew Jackson's home and lost money. But it does have the best acoustics, in their opinion, in the U.S. And I have actually seen a show there, and I can attest to that. It has damn good acoustics.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot about some of the sort of places in that very city having good acoustics. Actually, it seems like every auditorium there,
even just the bars.
Yeah, even the bars. We went to one, didn't we?
Yeah,
and there was this
great.
Amazing sort of jazz
Go to
music
Nashville,
playing.
guys.
Yeah, I wish we could do that again. I hope we can.
I hope we can too.
2011 is when we did it.
Nashville's a great place.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Gunky Zip says, oh, and thank you for the drink, by the way.
Thank you.
The Connecticut is known as the Nutmeg State, which I know and love for its legitimate and illicit nutmegs. Cheers from Hartford, Connecticut.
That's amazing. It's really adorable too.
It is.
I suppose, when you consider the nicknames of some of the other states that sound bewildering at times, some of them.
Oh, let's see here. So we got about a minute left.
Yes.
And trying really hard to find us another one.
I'll dance while you do it. This is. I'll stop now.
Hey, we got another drink. So thank you very much, D. Kelly.
Thank
Man,
you.
you are pouring them in tonight.
Yeah.
Michigan and Ohio fought over the UP and Toledo.
The Upper Peninsula and Toledo. I did not know that, actually. I don't think, but that doesn't surprise me. There have been cases in U.S. history of states in the north even fighting each other. There was Pennsylvania and Maryland fighting more or less over the Mason-Dixon line, or what became the Mason-Dixon line, because I think it was King George and his army of people. They miscalculated where it should go, and it transpired that it was wrong, and all this crazy stuff.
Well, and there's also Illinois and Indiana and Michigan famously fighting over that little bitty patch of land on the coast.
Oh, really?
Of the lake.
Did they fight on the water? Like what did they do? I mean,
No, it was all just in state houses, but basically Illinois and Michigan both wanted it for themselves, and Indiana was like, we're already here. And so
hello.
they took it.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we have reached, I think, the end of time. Not the end of time. That we'd all be gone now. The end of this video, which might feel like the end of time. I don't know. I mean, it's Friday. Let's go and enjoy that Friday. Let's go and enjoy the weekend. Stay tuned for more videos coming your way. If you haven't had a chance to do so tonight, we did put another video out. This is the 2 tonight, back to back. And it came out before this one. It's just me doing some US history to tune up my knowledge on that. And so until next time, which shouldn't be too far away, I bid you all adieu, and I thank you for all of your suggestions tonight. It was absolutely wonderful. I love this.
It was really fun.
We'll do this every week. Not every week. Well, maybe once a month. All right. Until next time. And thank you, Matthew. I saw another one just came in there. I'll just quickly reference it. The Beatles may not have existed if it was not for Carl Perkins from Tennessee. They managed to get his records from traveling merchants. And I think they even covered a song or two written by Carl Perkins, didn't they? I might be wrong about that.
Yes. They were fans at least. So
we'll say goodbye. I will see you soon.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye. It's not ending. We're having, there we go. I was going to say we're having reverse trouble at the end of the show.